My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California.
It is April 19, 2025. It's currently 11:22 a.m. And at third-party facilitating venue where the same exact pattern of conduct has remained underway, including on what is a quote-unquote cloudy day where the absence of logic is proven, where the entity that is stalking under a fake sun covers up the fake sun, and that is, again, the entity that is perpetuating a false and also an illogical idea of the fact that the fake sun is covered up. In other words, the sun that is not seen creates the absence of what is a clear sky or any sort of appearance of what would be bright colored light, because the engineered light, as you are also already aware, as I've documented, remains. That's why you have, by the way, engineered light that's still on Tracy Banks's living room wall, framing the same exact front door, while the fake sun has been covered up for the past few days, where the same pattern of conduct has remained underway. And today you are seeing the fake sun, as I'm documenting, the fake sun rise at 7:21, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 hours later. You're seeing it in its zenith over the top of my head at the same apartment, where the entity engages in the asinine and documented pattern of remaining with an idle light source that is not the sun. We're 4 hours from the sunrise, which is on the east side of the same front door, apartment 51 at Woodside Senior Apartments in Ontario, where the city of Ontario is flying over my head while I'm in use of a communication device. That's a demon that's using a plane that's crossing path, flying while the fake sun is over me, where it's remaining at the same apartment for 4 hours, as you are referring to the documentation of the sunrise as I'm documented at 7:21, where Tracy Banks is walking out of the apartment. I'll go ahead and refer to that video. Those that are listening to the podcast on YouTube, accessing the videos, you can go into the P.O.C. channel, the P.O.C. website, and you can refer to the video, which I will go ahead and mention now for those that are not relying on YouTube, which again, I don't suggest that you rely on YouTube because the entity is, again, as much as it can, engaging in what are acts of seeking to interfere with the documentation, which is going to be a basis of prosecution, but you don't have to rely on YouTube. Let me go ahead and recite 7:20. All right, the entity that is documented under what is the sunrise, I documented this on April 10th, 2025. The fake sun is on the east side, and that is today on April 19th. So that was 9 days ago, where you will see the duration of time analysis and time of year analysis, because the entity is doing the same thing, keeping a fake sun from sunrise until sunset in Los Angeles, where the city of LA is doing exactly what the city of Ontario is doing, as you will also see in the images that I captured today, where a demon is flying an aircraft, which is called the acts of monitoring, and it's government conduct. And everybody that's living at Woodside, where the fake sun is present at one apartment building for 4 hours, as you compare what is documented on April 10th, 2025 at 7:21 a.m. on video, and what I'm documenting on images today, which I've already documented. I've documented well after 11 a.m. I'm documenting at 6:18, where the fake sun is still at the same address, and I'll go ahead and remind you about that time stamp where I'm documenting it. This is captured on March 24th, 2025, where the fake sun is merely, again, after 11. I'm documenting it today at 11:23 a.m. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 hours later, the fake sun is barely reaching what is the west side of the same apartment building, not having gone anywhere, literally rising and setting at one apartment, where the city of Ontario, in images today that I'm capturing, is not ignorant about that supernatural occurrence, which is demonic, which is recognizing a government system, which is relying on the government action of the civilian population, not private conduct. They are engaging in surveillance. They are stalking with the state. We're at an apartment complex. A fake sun remains over me from sunrise until sunset, like I'm documenting on April 10th, 2025 at 7:21 a.m. Today, April 19th, 2025, at 11:23 a.m. And as you can see, the same location, March 24th, 2025, we're at 6:18 p.m. The fake sun is at the same address, the same location. And this is again documenting what is the supernatural occurrence. I'm documenting both the sunrise and a sunset. I'm documenting what is the maintenance, meaning the non-movement, the stationary, the idle presence. And that is very much idle when the sun is at the same location, not moving to any other state, where Florida is 3 hours ahead of us, and Florida is looking at the sun somewhere in Miami at 10 o'clock in the morning. All right, like the September 2024 arrest of Tyreek Hill, which is published information with regard to what the Miami-Dade Police Department are doing under that fake sun that's over them, 10 a.m. in the morning Eastern Standard Time, which would be 7 a.m. On the Pacific Coast, where we are. Just to give you an example, you have 4 hours, as I've documented it, non-movement. The sun isn't going anywhere when it's merely on my left side to being at the top of my head. And that's also supernatural. And that's also directly conflicting with what I'm documenting, for example, on Omnitrans. When I'm going from city to city, and that fake sun is necessarily a fake sun, is not stationary for 4 hours at the same front door of Woodside. It is remaining in perfect alignment with me on public transportation as I'm documenting it by bus route, no matter what direction I'm going, either going from Ontario to Pomona or going from Ontario to Fontana. And the fake sun is remaining over me as I documented in a body of evidence, speaking to the maintenance of that light source, which is the pattern, but it's supernatural, and it directly conflicts with the sun being idle over the front door of Tracy Banks at Woodside Senior Apartments in Ontario. That which is remaining over the same front door from 7 to 11 in the morning is not at the same time at any point of year, at any time ever, mutually engaging in some sort of conduct where contrary to what I've documented, it is remaining over me as I'm traveling en route, in transportation, on video also to prove it, that it is moving necessarily to maintain this presence over the top of my head while I'm on public transportation, going from city to city, like I've documented. I've documented the same thing in Tracy Banks's vehicles, going from city to city and county to county. And also while I am in Los Angeles, nowhere near Ontario, where the city of Ontario is conclusively engaged in gang stalking, again, as I'm documenting on another day. It is more vividly seen when you are looking at that fake sun and what the city of Ontario is relying on, which is criminal presence in the path by the demons who are monitoring in the bathroom, like I documented at 6:50 in the morning yesterday, like I documented at 11 o'clock at night yesterday, like I'm documenting where demons are stalking with amplified noise. And this is exactly what Paul Leon is engaging in as a as a gang stalking local government, as a gang stalking mayor, who is spending millions of dollars on criminal surveillance and is threatening my life on an ongoing basis, harassing me and engaging in what is terrorizing conduct as a documented gang stalker, while the elderly are gang stalking by residents in Ontario with the government that is entirely exercising fictitious authority that they don't have. They literally have no authority under the law to operate a police department, to maintain any sort of conduct with a sheriff's department that's engaged in stalking and surveillance in violation of existing constitutional law, state and federal. They are doing so while not only am I documenting it, I'm publishing it, and the entity is still seeking to threaten my life on an ongoing basis while I document that. That's relevant to the criminal interference with quiet enjoyment that is underway at 11:29 a.m., where an amplified boom is heard inside of this apartment, where you'll see engineered light on Tracy Banks's living room ceiling, where you will see engineered light that's appearing on the inside of the patio glass door, because in the afternoon, where the fake sun hasn't gone anywhere, which is 5-6 hours from now, it's still here, and the same engineered light is then coating the outside of the same patio glass door. This is where amplified noise is occurring inside of the apartment. This is ongoing criminal interference with quiet enjoyment that AVANATH is doing in concert with the city of Ontario, that is engaged in domestic terrorism, gang stalking together as a citywide effort, as a matter of public corruption. That's why AVANATH is being prosecuted while it is gang stalking as a third party, not as a private business that's exercising any constitutionally protected rights whatsoever. They are literally engaged in monitoring an American citizen that is an occupant at its facilitating venue, where the fake sun is remaining from 7:21 until 6:18 in the evening, which is an impossible occurrence. That is speaking to the character of the demon that's flying directly over my head, or I'm capturing that fake sun directly over my head today at 11:23 a.m. That is also speaking to what is juxtaposed. Not only is this impossible as you isolate the universe, as you just heard me recite that analysis, for prosecuting the gang stalkers who are all going to prison in mental asylums in units 33 through 64. They're engaged in 24-hour bathroom monitoring with the entity that I'm documenting in units 55, 56, 52, unit 50 and 52, unit 50 and on the opposite side, unit 52, where they are under no circumstances individually capable of creating amplified bomb detonation sounds or cracking the ceilings and the walls while they walk around on their walkers. They're engaging in what is stalking in the path as an entire apartment complex, while they're obsessively maintaining presence in the path, while the government uses aircrafts, all manner of vehicles, using things like the trains as a means of what is pacing all around me, monitoring as a citywide effort, which is the inhumane and unconstitutional practices of a gang stalking entity. The pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring, which is why LYNDA Reyes is going to federal prison. Amplified noise while LYNDA Reyes is seeking to engage in obstruction of justice while I'm documenting her. 11:33 a.m. She is indeed gang stalking, regardless of the fact that she's sitting at home today on Saturday or whether she's in the office right now. She is an employee at this facilitating venue, where she is, by virtue of her employment, maliciously and ceaselessly facilitating this criminal pattern of conduct, which is committed in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. She's working under the fake sun. The demons are residing under the fake sun. The demons are gang stalking as a corrupt government under the fake sun that remains over me, which is speaking to the government that is stalking me, the government that's obsessed with me. And it is proven through that supernatural maintenance of that environment, which includes that amplified noise that's occurring inside of an apartment complex amongst a whole bunch of old people who are also seemingly unbothered by the amplified noises that fill the apartment, which are also not existing only in my imagination. The amplified audible activity creation is built into the well-documented P.O.C. And Paul Leon is being removed from office for the inhumanity of the gang stalking mayor, which is his position, which he shares. The gang stalking mayor of Fontana, the gang stalking mayor of Los Angeles, and every other city where I'm documenting that P.O.C. A bunch of sex offenders are pacing around the apartment complex on Vine Avenue, on G Street, on Hope Boulevard, on Euclid Avenue, on what is F and E and H Street. And in other words, the city is engaging in gang stalking together, and it's demonic activity. And it is proven through that environment that is a supernatural occurrence. And while you're looking at light that's on the ceiling, you will see my hand magnified in size as it's appearing above my head, just like I've documented outside of this apartment, where the entity is gang stalking by the fire department, and my shadow is appearing above my head on the outside, on the exterior of the apartment building, while I'm standing under the sun that is over this same exact apartment, as I documented at 12:42 in the afternoon, when the Ontario Fire Department, the city of Ontario, that's gang stalking by flying over me while I'm documenting that fake sun and documenting it using my communication device, which is under surveillance. The city of Ontario is gang stalking in that video as well, where I'm documenting that same pattern of impossible light activity that's occurring on this apartment building, where all these demons are going to prison. Stalking with amplified noise, they're stalking amongst impossible light that's occurring inside of Tracy Banks's apartment and on the outside of this entire apartment building, where they're all demons stalking, monitoring genitalia genitalia together as one, monitoring genitalia with the government, that's a sex offender, monitoring while they are being documented, and using amplified noises, which is both monitoring conduct, but it's also prosecution for what is harassment by the federal government. Harassment that is psychologically harmful, harassment that is pursuant to the intent to obstruct justice. This is why demons like Jason Isaac Fields are losing their job, okay? The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and the government engaging in this experiment in the first place, now being prosecuted for it, and every day that you remain subject to it is why government officials are permanently being removed from law enforcement. This is why the Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. They've been engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring amongst the pattern of kidnapping with demons and hitmen that are facilitating it, like Jason Isaac Fields, Tracy Banks, Eric Spencer, Tommy Allen Banks, the entity that's gang stalking, engaging in criminal summoning while they're gang stalking, just like the elderly at Woodside Senior Apartments are doing. Never having any legitimacy under the laws that exist apart from the corrupt acts of the government. I'm going to prosecute the corrupt government under the laws that exist and laws that shall come into existence, such as the elderly who are violent sex offenders, who are gang stalking by residents and sharing in the ongoing ceaseless endeavor to psychologically torture one whom they are targeting in furtherance of seeking to murder and kidnap. Okay, that's why everyone in units 33 through 64 are indeed going to prison and mental asylums. They are stalking with amplified noise under a fake sun that is still here after 6 p.m., which I've already documented, and I'm documenting it today while I'm capturing the engineered light, the impossible light activity, which is a terrorizing threat. It's a criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, as is the amplified noise, which is created while the demons who are going to prison and mental asylums are very much aware of the fact that they're being documented, which is also the city of Ontario. Paul Leon is aware that he's being removed from office while that demon keeps me under surveillance, and he listens to all the documentation that is published as I recite that demon's name. He is also a fake pastor who is, again, over a fake church where a bunch of demons gather, and they're a bunch of documented gang stalkers, by the way. But nonetheless, he is being removed from office while I'm documenting him, literally while I remain subject to the P.O.C. at Woodside. But I'm documenting the entity that's going to prison. They're going to prison and mental asylums. And LYNDA Reyes belongs in federal prison. Her ongoing documented acts of impunity, seeking to harass and terrorize and psychologically harm someone that is blowing the whistle on her, is an intolerable act of obstruction of justice, and she's going to federal prison for it. And everyone else is going to be prosecuted based on the same criminal acts that they are engaging with the government that's flying over my head at 11:23 a.m. while you see that fake sun in its zenith 4 hours later after the documented sunrise on April 10, 2025, where there would never be a sunrise at the same time, and at the same time, literally on the same day and same time of year as well, in Los Angeles, like I documented though. Because this is the same pattern of conduct that's underway while I'm living in an entirely different region, where the pattern of stalking with amplified noise and harassing and terrorizing with amplified noise is built into the P.O.C. for monitoring, which is the gang stalking P.O.C., where a bunch of demon-possessed people who are mentally deranged, this is psychopathic conduct by demons who are hostile to being exposed. And that's what's relevant. As I wake up at 11, this is when the amplified noise begins, because I'm documenting them. Okay, so license 5WB715, it's already, she's so heavily documented, and she knows, and so does everybody else know, she's going to a mental asylum. So are the demons in unit number 41 with the 2 minor children who are engaging in psychological torture. They're engaged in monitoring the genitalia of a woman, adult woman. They're engaged in monitoring gang stalking with the government, as the entity is contributing to the delinquency of minors who are documented gang stalkers, that is terrorists, and they have been made so as children in the custody of the people of the state that are continuously engaging in what is threatening and harassing while they're being prosecuted at the same time. They are in the custody of psychopaths who are a threat to them, not only sexually, but a threat to their lives, while they're in the possession of, in the custody of gang stalkers, terrorists, those that are residing in unit number 41, who are sharing in that ongoing documented act of amplified noise, 11:38 a.m., repeated acts of amplified booming, hurting inside of the apartment, while you're aware, you'll see it in the Google Drive, the impossible light that fills the apartment, the fake sun that's over my apartment, over this apartment out on the outside, which I captured images, is directly relevant to the amplified noise that's being repeated. And it's also being repeated because I'm documenting them and I'm publishing it. And as I speak about the demons engage in what is very animalistic behavior. Demons don't use words and logic and reasoning. They stalk with noise, they stalk with light, they stalk in the presence, and then keep their back to you. They're cowards while they do so, which is the character of Satan, okay? They're going to be put in mental asylums and prisons for this. It is inhumane, it's unconstitutional, and it's also psychotic. The entities engaging in this system of federal group stalking and monitoring, which Paul Leon is accountable for. Paul Leon is a very heavily documented gang stalker, and he is being removed from office for his criminal conduct. This is what the Ontario Airport, the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario Police Department, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, and all of the corrupt departments are engaging in, literally while I prove that ongoing P.O.C. remaining at a senior citizen apartment complex where the elderly are just as threatening as any virile 18, 19-year-old, and as threatening as any child that is monitoring pursuant to the same elements with the same corrupt government, by the way, that's acting in furtherance of murder, acting in furtherance of kidnapping, criminal defamation. Don't forget all of the audible activity that came out of the face of Tracy Banks while she is gang stalking. That's why it's happening at her apartment. That's why she's going to a mental asylum. While the amplified noise is repeatedly occurring in her apartment, don't forget about what they were all speaking together about, criminally defamatory speech, while you're documenting the psychopaths themselves. That's why they're going to prison and mental asylums. That's why Paul Leon is being removed from office. Tracy Banks is speaking as the mayor that's gang stalking me. The mayor that has planes and helicopters and the police department gang stalking me. That's why he's being removed from office, and he is not secure or protected from a prosecution. She is speaking as the entity that is, right now while I'm documenting, monitoring and engaging in what is obstruction of justice, harassing and monitoring because I'm documenting it. This is exactly why the entity that's gang stalking is the entity that's obstructing of justice, the entity that's harassing, the entity that's engaging in sexual violence, the entity that's criminally defaming and kidnapping as one. They're not engaging in any aspect of that pattern of conduct individually or ignorant about what the other part is doing. It is an ongoing conspiracy that is executed together, and that conspiracy is going to serve for what is a comprehensive prosecution, and every part of it is going to be prosecuted comprehensively based on that criminal conduct that requires an entity together. That's why you have the elderly gang stalking as a whole apartment complex where the sun rises and sets. That's where the demons are going to prison, and that's what I was speaking about. Everybody in units 33 through 64, that's where you see on the same sidewalk strip, the fake sun is rising on the east side and setting on the west side of where demons in units 33 through 64 are stalking and harassing and terrorizing and psychologically torturing with amplified noise. They're going to prison and mental asylums. They are going to be diagnosed by their criminal conduct, which is a very well documented pattern of conduct that's in conformity to what they were even doing in the same exact environment, which is supernatural. It's the specific environment in Los Angeles, where LAPD obsessively gang stalking with the city of LA using planes and helicopters over me at work and over me in my apartment, while the fake sun is both rising and setting while I'm documenting it inside of the same apartment in the morning and in the evening. And for the duration of the day, which is no sun over Tracy Banks's front door at any time, where you're looking at, where you're juxtaposing the crime scenes. And that is the prosecution of people like Karen Bass, like Paul Leon, as you compare those two. I'm engaged in ongoing publishing of documentation that is underway in October of 2021, and I am up to October 22nd, 2021, where you will see the Fontana Police Department engaging in the same P.O.C, where the entity is keeping the fake sun over Woodside Senior Apartments, like I'm documenting, April 10, 2025 and April 19th today from 7:21 to 11:23 a.m. And you know that it stays here because that's what I documented on March 24th, where the fake sun is also setting. And in the natural environment, which the demons, who are very idiotic, are failing at mimicking the natural environment. So that's where you know where the fake sun is, because you put that there. So now you fail in that endeavor in doing so, but you're going to document and always compare it to what the natural environment dictates. And the natural environment would never have the sunrise and the sunset. The natural environment would never have a duplicated sunrise over the through my living room window in Los Angeles and also on the east side of Tracy Banks's apartment. And you are also accordingly aware of the fact that there is no sun that's going to be over Tracy Banks's apartment, over my apartment in Los Angeles, or over my office in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, and also over the Fontana Lewis Library. And or it's because it's both, also remaining over me while I'm on Omnitrans traveling from Ontario to the city of Fontana, remaining over me at the Fontana Metrolink, where the city of Fontana is gang stalking, where the city of Fontana, the people of the state in the city of Fontana are gang stalking in that specific environment. Stalking with amplified noise is audible activity creation that they're filling an apartment with. Not only is this an unprecedented level of violation of privacy, this is where they're monitoring my genitalia. When my panties are down, the government that's gang stalking by plane, which you see at 11:23 a.m. published today, they're doing the same thing using manpower, hours, and money, monitoring my naked body in the bathroom. That's what the government, that's what Paul Leon, the police department, all of them are interested in. And that's exactly what I'm documenting in October of 2021, which you can see published, where the entity is gang stalking with heavy helicopter activity, plane activity. The fake sun is remaining over me. The fake sun is remaining over me while I'm traveling from city to city, contrary to staying at apartment 51 at Woodside, where these demons are engaging in what is criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment, psychological torture with amplified noise with regard to what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is legally relevant. I'm documenting while their entity is engaging in obstruction of justice by harassment with their amplified noise, because the demons are not only monitoring, they're mad because they're monitoring me documenting them. This is where the entity is gang stalking with an idle fake sun and a moving fake sun that remains over me from Ontario to Fontana, like I documented in October of 2021, where you will never have the two happening at the same time. In addition, there would never be a sun over me in Los Angeles if that was the sun, which you know it's not, because the sun is not maintaining this ubiquitous presence like I documented over me, over everyone else, including in Miami, Florida. Okay, this is how you're understanding what the government is engaging in, and this is why you're understanding why government officials, people like Jason Isaac Fields, if this is somebody that actually abused their position in government, if he had one, he is permanently losing it. There is no legitimate investigation of the government that's initially gang stalking you. This is a government that's going to be forced to both not only hand over justice, but also be subject to the consequences of engaging in the criminal act in the first instance. This is the entity that is facilitating gang stalking by the Fontana Police Department, gang stalking by the Ontario Police Department, gang stalking by the Los Angeles Police Department, which is the state. It's the state. All right. And you are also aware of the fact of the demonic nature. These are not just criminals that are just have an appetite for corruption in Los Angeles, San Bernardino County. This is demonic. This is a system of the demon possessed targeting any person that the demons want to. And you are also aware of the fact that there are more of those who are in darkness than those who are not. This is how you have a whole population in California engaging in that gang stalking system. And they're not ignorant about the fake sun that's over me and over them while I'm in their presence. They are in that environment because they're engaging in that pattern of conduct. You're not ignorantly facilitating that. You're not ignorantly in that apartment complex where the fake sun is rising and setting, and you will be prosecuted for it. Not only prosecuted under Federal Stalking Statute Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, you'll be prosecuted for criminal acts of obstruction of justice. Woodside Senior Apartments has been documenting gang stalking for years, originating in 2018, 2020. I'm documenting the same pattern of amplified noise, the same pattern of impossible light activity. This is all psychological torture. AVANATH Capital Management has a long existing criminal record, and I'm going to prosecute the company. I'm going to prosecute the employees. I'm going to prosecute the very residents, the occupants who are aiding the government in furtherance of committing murder and kidnapping. All right. That's why the government is gang stalking in the first place. All right. And so not only that, but you're going to be prosecuted under the Violence Against Women Act. They're all losing their apartment homes, and they're all losing their government assistance. The government that's gang stalking with and that's flying over my head in a plane. The government that you've seen in hundreds of videos gang stalking by the city of Ontario itself. Literally, the demons that empty the garbage are engaging in the elements of monitoring. Okay. That's how detailed Paul Leon's gang stalking conduct is. They're doing so in that specific environment, and the demons are so corrupt. They're engaging in domestic terrorism while their secret system of terrorism is no longer a secret, because I'm documenting and publishing the evidence. So the entity is threatening my life, gang stalking, furtherance of murder and kidnapping, and then engaging in more acts of harassment and terrorism because I'm documenting it. That is speaking to that psychopathic personality disorder, where gang stalkers will be diagnosed for actual mental illness, and the entity itself will be forced to rehabilitate the character that it sought to assassinate by gang stalking that American citizen. They will put that reputation back into tact where it belongs. The entity that is engaging in criminal defamation, that's built into the P.O.C. They will be diagnosed for actual mental illness, which is proven through their criminal conduct. And they will also rehabilitate. They will be accountable for putting back together the reputation that the entity sought to assassinate by criminal defamation, by gang stalking. All right. It is currently 11:50 a.m. and I will refer you to April 7, 2025, where this entity engages in criminal defamation. April 14, 2025, where this entity is engaging in criminal defamation, and then you're listening to their criminal conduct that they engage in as an entity, including while the demon, the high school graduate, the demon herself, Tracy Banks, speaks as the entity that is going to be prosecuted for every syllable that came out of her face. It's all audible activity in this same exact specific environment. And as the demon speaks, the mayor is being removed from office. The mayor is subject to a prosecution. Let me be clear. I don't ever have to come into his presence. He is in my presence, gang stalking me, while in the city of Ontario, the government is targeting me, which is proven in that specific environment. And it's proven as a replicated pattern in every city and county that I'm in, including Orange County, Kern County, Los Angeles County, Riverside County, and San Bernardino County. It is the P.O.C. It's currently 11:51 a.m. where AVANATH is being prosecuted for this ongoing acts of terrorism. The engineered light that you see captured on the ceiling just travels across the ceiling down onto the walls, changing direction. You'll look at the documentation that I've referenced already, where the entity keeps the engineered light that's on the ceiling today before it's on the west living room wall above the television, and it traveled across the wall onto the same north living room wall above the mirror. Today it appears on the ceiling, traveling down that ceiling to the same north living room wall. None of that's natural light activity. All you're doing is paying attention to what is under all circumstances stalking with light, which is demonic, while the entity is filling the apartment with amplified noise, which is demonic, pursuant to what is monitoring. Demon possessed people are monitoring. They're also obsessed with when I'm sleeping, when I'm moving, what I'm thinking about, what it is I'm doing in the bathroom, when I take my clothes off, when I am walking to the refrigerator, everything else. They're obsessed with everything else that I'm doing. Their obsession is based on their mental illness, which is diagnosing the person, but the condition is spiritual. They're demon possessed, but it affects their behavior. So they are actually mentally ill, psychopathic conduct. Psychopathic, irrational, and inexplicable obsession and consumption with another person. You don't even know me, and your obsession is something that you are hostile to being spoken about, to being exposed about you. You resort to more violent tactics. You are satiated by inflicting that harm on another person. This is psychopathic. This is antisocial behavior, and it is speaking to mental illness by those that are gang stalking. They're demon possessed, so that's what you need to know about that. It is currently 11:52 a.m., and those images, again, this is pointing out how the government is going to analyze the impossible light activity when you are recognizing the system that I'm exposing, which is demonic. And it's also not only exposing it, it's prosecuting it. And it's AVANATH Capital Management's criminal conduct. It's also relevant to, again, AVANATH's employees who are going to prison, and AVANATH's co-defendants, the very occupants themselves who are acting with the state. Okay, and they're doing so in a well-documented P.O.C. And as I reference, look at the documentation that it's already published on the P.O.C. website on thisisthepoc.wordpress.com. Everything is already published. Every picture, screenshot, video capture, and video is uploaded to the P.O.C. website, up to date. What I'm publishing on YouTube is I'm progressively uploading everything. Everything is up to date with regard to 2025. I am uploading everything in 2021, and I am up to October 22nd. 2021, where you can see what will be the same time. October of 2021, we're at daylight savings time, where the entity is keeping the fake sun over the Fontana Lewis Library, where the city of Ontario is flying over my head, where the fake sun is not possibly over, where the sun is not over at the same time the Fontana Lewis Library, but the fake sun in the city of Ontario, where the pattern of conduct is underway, is over my head. And that's how you have the evidence speaking to a fake sun that's over me at the same time of year, at the same time in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, and also at the same time, like I documented in October of 2021, when I'm traveling back in, October 22nd, for example, when I'm traveling to and from Ontario to Fontana on Omnitrans, a gang stalker that Alan D. WAPNER is also associated with, somebody else that's on the corrupt city of Ontario, the city of Ontario that's flying over my head in an aircraft while I'm in use of my communication device, documenting the specific environment where gang stalking is underway amongst the demon possessed. That is a specific environment, not a natural environment, a supernatural one, impossible to naturally exist. That context is relevant to prosecuting criminal surveillance by a corrupt government, public corruption, criminal conduct, in other words, that the government is relying on the civilian population to participate in. That's how you have gang stalking amongst a bunch of elderly, unemployed people who are relying on government assistance, by the way, while they're stalking by residents engaging in what is harassment and sexual violence and psychological torture. And they, with their walkers, are going to federal prison and mental asylums. They will not be treated any differently, in the same way that they are under no circumstances ceasing to engage in that criminal conduct. Not only evident through the specific environment, they are stalking in the path with the amplified noise while I'm documenting, seeking to obstruct justice. In other words, seeking to try to harass the federal prosecutor, trying to terrorize the federal prosecutor while you're being prosecuted. That is never, and that's not going to stop the prosecution. It's going to intensify it. And that's why I also document it. Okay, it's 11:55 a.m. where this engineer light is crawling about on the inside of Tracy Banks's apartment, and this is speaking to ongoing monitoring, and that is terrorizing. And AVANATH is going to compensate for that. All right, this is exactly what Speaker Companies was engaging in while I documented it in Los Angeles, what AVANATH is engaging in. This is exactly what the people that stayed at Alvarado Gardens were engaging in while I documented in Los Angeles. What Woodside Senior Apartments is engaging in is what the city of LA, the LAPD, the city of Ontario, the Ontario PD, which is nothing other than the highest threat. The entity that's gang stalking through the police, you have police officers gang stalking. They are gang stalking with the purpose, and it is reasonably deduced as a purpose to commit murder and get away with it, to engage in kidnapping and get away with it. Okay, it is the abuse of the executive branch, the entity that's engaged in criminal surveillance. It's currently 11:56 a.m. on April 19, 2025. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 12:11 p.m. and on this day in 2024, I am documenting very heavy gang stalking via helicopter by Michael Moore's Los Angeles Police Department. And Michael Moore in April of 2024 had voluntarily stepped away, and the interim police chief is the domestic terrorist leader, Dominic Choi, who is again leading the gang stalking campaign against me while I'm at Alvarado Gardens. And the entity, the Los Angeles Police Department, is gang stalking me for the duration of the day in the specific environment where I documented the maintenance of the fake sun. I documented the maintenance of the fake sun for the entirety of that day. I have the video that I'm starting at 7:30 in the morning where the entity is starting with that helicopter activity, which is on video at 7:30 a.m. and the entity is engaging in documented gang stalking by helicopter. I'm in the office capturing, giving analysis about gang stalking in the workplace as I'm going through and documenting the P.O.C. Yeah, I'm reciting I am simultaneously reviewing this documentation while I'm reviewing it, because what I'm reviewing on my phone is relevant to what the entity is doing, criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment at Woodside while they are, again, harassing the federal prosecutor while evidence is being reviewed. And I'm going to publish this evidence, which is in the evidence that I'm literally reviewing in Los Angeles at the time. I'm speaking to the very defendants in Ontario who are subject to what I stated in 2024. They're going to prison. They're gang stalking with their kids that they're going to lose custody of. That's exactly what I spoke about. And this is exactly what I'm expounding upon while LAPD is heavily gang stalking by helicopter on April 19, 2024. Where the entity is covering up the fake sun in the morning, and it is unveiled over my head at the same property like I document on video, and the entity has been engaged in the same pattern of conduct. As you are understanding, the fake sun is relevant to understanding what is a supernatural environment, the demonic pattern of conduct. The sun is speaking to what is engineered light that's all over the place that has nothing to do with the fake sun. That's why engineered light is present at nightfall, where you have multiple shadows, upright, magnified sides of your shadows. That's not created by light fixtures. That's not created by headlights. That is the engineered light that's covering the grounds during the day. And it has nothing to do with what is also a fake sun, which my documentation proves as well. The entity that's aware that it's being documented engages in the same exact criminal system and then covers up the fake sun. It's not even the operation of the natural environment. It's not weather, especially when I'm documenting the ongoing climate conditions, if you will. When I'm documenting it, it vacillates in real time with regard to what the demon possessed know that I am honing in on what it is that I'm exposing. So that is relevant to my documentation on April 19, 2024. And I want to, what you're going to listen to, and in video at 1:21 p.m., I am on video capturing Yeah, the fake sun that has been covered up, and the entity engages in the illogical conduct, like I was stating, because the fake sun is covered up. The demons that are relying on the fake sun in the sky over your head, relying on that being the explanation for the engineered light that's covering everything. And so when it's a cloudy day, there's no light whatsoever, meaning there's no bright colored light. It is engineered light. It's gray colored engineered light. It's whatever dim. It's a nothing other than a different hue, but you're looking at the same supernatural character. This light is peculiar. This light is unique. It's not natural light activity. It's not normal light activity. And as I've shown also, the engineered light does the same thing that the bright colored so-called sunlight does, it just in a different color. It's still trailing across the ceiling. It's still framing the front door. It's still creating multiple shadows and whatnot. It's just a different color. And it is also not the case. We do not have to have a fake sun over all of us everywhere in all the states and all the different counties and all the different blocks, which is necessarily the case when you are looking at a big picture about what's going on in the environment. What must be the case, and what must be the case is it is speaking to the spiritual realm. It's speaking to a supernatural character about what is right in front of your face. What must be the case is that which is not necessary. You don't have to have the sun over the top of your head in order for it to be a blue sky, in other words. All right. So this is what an entity is doing when controlling the environment around us. And it is demonic in every regard. It's supposed to be the explanation for what is the sunlight. You're attributing sunlight to being all over everything, and sunlight reflecting off of things that's not sunlight reflections, and literally paying attention to it. It's very obvious. Sunlight's not the product of the sun that's outside of the apartment building in the sky, and then also in on the ceiling on the inside of the apartment in the shape of a thick bar of line of light on the ceiling on the inside of the apartment, as though the sun is like engaging in some sort of reflection off of some object, off of the window through closed blinds and window coverings, shooting at an angle into the apartment above my head. And then as I put my hand through that impossible creation of light, it creates a magnification of the size of my hand. That is the same thing that's happening when it's reflecting off of, and I put that in air quotes because it's not an actual reflection. The fake sun doesn't have to be there in order for that light conduct to occur. This is the asininity of demons who are stalking with light. And you're looking at the chicanery with the fake sun. The entity is engaging what is demonic in plain sight, and the fake sun that reflects off a windshield that shoots lights inside of the same apartment through the patio glass door and creates multiple shadows on Tracy Banks's living room wall, like I've documented multiple times. That's not sunlight either. It's the same conduct of stalking with light. Now, this is the environment where, again, the fake sun is covered up in the morning on April 19, 2024. And LAPD is starting the day off on video at 7:30 a.m. By helicopter, gang stalking by helicopter. The entity is gang stalking in that supernatural environment. That's what's happening in the United States. Criminal surveillance. And in video at 1:21 p.m., I'm capturing where the fake sun can be covered up at any point in the day. At whatever point that it is unveiled, it's unveiled over the top of my head. And that's exactly what I documented at 1:21 p.m. on April 19, 2024. And that is equally the specific environment where I have already documented the sunrise at that same apartment complex, and my apartment that's feet away from my office at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles. Nowhere near, by the way, at Woodside Senior Apartments, where the same exact pattern of conduct and behavioral pattern is documented underway. While I am reviewing evidence, the demons inside of this apartment that are keeping my communication devices and evidence, that's a federal no-no. They're interfering with the case, and the case is against the government itself. So the entity is monitoring evidence. The entity is engaging in harassing and psychological torture while I am documenting and reviewing evidence against itself, and doing so because of the animosity, the hostility, the psychopaths that resort to the same documented tactics that are putting them in prison and mental asylums for the rest of their life. That's what they're asking for. That's what they're going to get. The entity is doing so. I want to be clear on April 19, 2024, where I am reviewing what LAPD did for the duration of the day. I'm going to recite this. All of the heavy helicopter activity, which is again under the corruption of Dominic Choi and Michael Moore's Los Angeles Police Department, under the corrupt gang stalking practices of Karen Bass and the demon-possessed civilian population that's gang stalking me while I'm in Los Angeles, California, zip code 90026 at Alvarado PORADA Gardens. And this is the helicopter activity that I'm subject to as I'm documenting it. It's at 7:30 a.m. I'm documenting it. I'm opening up my window on video, and LAPD's helicopter activity is heard very loudly. And so it's 7:30 a.m., but I'm literally looking at a list on video, and this video is what I'm going to play next, because this is what LAPD is doing on an ongoing basis, where they resort to the demonic pacing like the LAPD did for 47 minutes on April 15, 2024, amongst engineered light at the same venue where the fake sun is rising and setting. In that environment, while that fake sun is setting in alignment to my apartment, LAPD is outwardly demonstrating very severe mental illness, which is born of their demon-possessed condition, while they're gang stalking using the helicopters that Dominic Choi permitted to be used to target me while I'm in Los Angeles, California. This is where the demons at Woodside Senior Apartments are engaging in what is an ongoing campaign. The amplified noise of helicopter is analogous to the amplified noise of loud booming inside of an apartment building where the people of the state are gang stalking with the gang stalking police. Okay, while I'm reviewing this evidence, this is where this ongoing amplified noise is occurring, and it's occurring again. Take note of everything that I'm documenting at the same time, because at 12:20 p.m. amplified booming, this is ongoing monitoring of evidence, and this is going to be treated in the same way it would be treated under any other federal case. The entity that is in any way seeking to obstruct justice, such as tampering with witnesses, trying to intimidate people from testifying, trying to interfere or tamper with evidence, trying to harass somebody that's blowing the whistle, these sorts of things. This is what an entity is doing when they're monitoring the evidence. Monitoring the evidence is accomplished by the terrorizing act of stalking with amplified noise, harassing, terrorizing, psychologically torturing with amplified noise. This is what the demons are doing while I'm creating this evidence. That's why I speak to it in real time, because it's also speaking to impunity, which you're also going to prosecute like any other federal case. The entity that's engaging in criminal conduct of a federal nature and did so with noted impunity, that's always relevant to how they're going to be sentenced. This is what an entity is doing while I am documenting, and the entity is filling the apartment with amplified booming noises, which is intentional amongst what is impossible light activity under what is an idle fake sun, where the government is engaging in the elements of monitoring like I'm documenting in Ontario. This is where I'm reviewing this evidence, and that's why I point that out. LAPD is indeed gang stalking, and the same entity is gang stalking to date and currently while I'm capturing this podcast, while I'm speaking to the evidence, and amplified noise fills AVANATH Capital Management's apartment where I'm subject to this criminal pattern of conduct. And LAPD engaged in this at 7:30 a.m. gang stalking by helicopter at 9:21 a.m., 10:17 a.m., 10:21 a.m., 10:31 a.m., 11:51 a.m., 12:44 p.m., 1:21 p.m., 2:20 p.m., 3:24 p.m., 3:45 p.m., 4:04 p.m., 4:20 p.m., 4:52 p.m., 5:36 p.m., 6:41 p.m., and 7:55 p.m. And in the video that you're going to listen to next at what is 10:08 p.m., LAPD is gang stalking in helicopter again by flying in circles. That is demonic pacing in helicopter, like you can see them doing. Refer to the video captured on April 15, 2024 at 6:48 p.m., where for 47 minutes they're pacing. That is flying in circles, which is a pattern, a documented pattern by the gang stalking police. Reference LAPD gang stalking on April 5th. On May 22nd, 2024, the screen recording and the title of it is 2024-0522 at 2:46 and 49 seconds. And the drive 002, that's the whole title. Screen recording 2024-0522, space 02:46:49. Drive 002, and that's just with regard to it's a screen recording. And you'll see in that video, the LAPD is engaging in psychopathic pacing. This is a demon that's flying an aircraft that's pacing in a manner that is underway by a aircraft flying in circles. In commercial planes, they are engaging in what is pacing by flying forward and then making a direct U-turn, flying back. That's pacing. When you have multiple aircrafts repeatedly crossing path, that's pacing. It's referred to as patrolling. These are demons, and this is spiritually significant what the demon possessed do. They do so as a population, walking around and driving around in all manner of directions while impossible light shoots all over. These demons are pacing, they're monitoring. This is also psychopathic behavior by the mentally ill who are engaged in criminal conduct. They are doing so also in video on April 19, 2024 at 10:08 and 26. Oh, this is the video you're going to listen to right now. at 10:08 p.m. And Ontario PD, gang stalking, the demonic pacing conduct. This is a pattern by the demon-possessed gang stalking police who are, again, speaking to the prosecution of the corrupt government that's engaging in surveillance. And it is terrorism while the corrupt government that is gang stalking you is outwardly demonstrating their mental illness by pacing in things like helicopters while they're stalking you. This is, again, the demon-possessed, they manifest in this way because they are demons who are hostile, because I am letting you know about their condition. Satan does not like being exposed. Satan despises it. And Satan manifests in people that he is possessing while I call him out. Okay. And it is exhibited through the demons that are using helicopters, stalking me, flying in circles repeatedly, which is a documented pattern. And that documented pattern, which is, by the way, absent the evidence of the specific environment, proof of stalking by itself. Period. The entity is not only stalking and doing so in a very unique manner, like pacing around me in helicopters, and moreover, the specific environment. An unmistakable pattern of conduct, which the people of the state are sharing. It is Ontario PD is gang stalking by helicopter. This demonic pacing captured on what would be October 22nd, 2021 on video at 9:56 p.m. On what is October 20th, 2021 at 12:26 a.m. on video. You can see that on either the YouTube channel, or which is the P.O.C, or the P.O.C website at thisisthepoc.wordpress.com. And also on September 30th, 2021 at 1:53 a.m. you will see the Ontario Police Department engaged in, at that early hour, obsessively stalking and monitoring me, which demons do. This is exactly what's going on inside of an apartment building at an apartment complex, okay? Amongst the demon-possessed population, the people who are pacing as well. They just don't do it in helicopters. That's what the police do when they're engaging in domestic terrorism with the people of the state, and they use the most terrorizing and horrifying method of stalking and targeting someone who lacks the evidence, in other words, also to prove that you are being stalked in a helicopter. And the P.O.C proves that. Not only that, you are looking at demons manifesting when they're flying in circles around me everywhere that I go. And this is what Ontario PD is exhibiting on September 30, 2021 at 1:53 a.m. And on December 12, 2020 at what is 8:50 p.m. This is Ontario Police engaging in this documented pattern. And I continuously document. Remember, the entity is pacing in multiple aircrafts. It's crossing a path. Being in my presence, being in the path as a group is accomplishing pacing. When you're looking at a single actor, they are pacing repeatedly. That's called patrolling. They're flying in a circle. They're repeatedly crossing path over and over again, like one person that's standing right in front of you, and that person is walking left and right and left and right and left and right and left and right in front of your face. That's very weird and creepy for someone to do that and follow you around doing that. That's what the demon possessed are doing in engineered light. It's monitoring. They do it pursuant to your movement. They do it pursuant to monitoring your thoughts. They do it persistent to whatever it is that they are recognize that you're triggered by, whatever it is that they understand while they're monitoring you obsessively and stalking you and studying you, whatever it is that they seek to harm you by. If it's something that they think scares you, if it's something that they think bothers you, if it's something that this is what the demons are motivated by. This is mental illness while human beings engage in this. It is psychopaths that are a violent threat to themselves and each other. These are the ticking time bombs that are gang stalking in the United States. And it's what I'm documenting in California. Okay, this is what LAPD did, gang stalking me for the duration of the day on April 19, 2024. And that is the list of the times where you will see the specific act of terrorism by the gang stalking police who resort to pacing. That is manifesting their demon possession by pacing in a helicopter, which is criminal surveillance. It's evidence of the entity that is stalking, and doing so with a documented level of malice and impunity. And on April 19th, in the video that you're going to listen to next, which is where the entity that is monitoring me online while I'm accessing the documentation on YouTube, while I'm in operation of my device, the demons at Woodside, in Ontario at Woodside Senior Apartments are filling the apartment with amplified noise. This is, remember, demonic. But the demons who are gang stalking by residents are going to be prosecuted for it. This is an entity that sought to use supernatural means of targeting someone and thought that they were going to never be caught and never be accountable for it, like it's impossible, and it's not. It's a pattern of conduct, and amplified noise is pursuant to what is criminal monitoring, elements that remain underway. And all the stalkers, proven by the maintenance of that supernatural environment in concert with that gang stalking government, are going to be prosecuted, including the corrupt actor that's profiting, AVANATH Capital Management, and it is criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. All the stalkers are being prosecuted for what they also know is underway while they're keeping my internet activity under surveillance. And they are engaged in surveillance using communication devices like Tracy Banks does. Literally using it and being in relevant position and operation of it is a means of surveillance amongst the entity that is gang stalking. All right. And they are also engaged in what is awareness of what you're doing on your phone. They are literally engaging in federal stalking, and the activity is created with simultaneity to what I am doing online. And it's also legally relevant that I happen to be prosecuting, and you're doing this amongst your own federal prosecutor, and it's going to be prosecuted like any other federal case. It is not tolerated when you seek to tamper with witnesses, when you try to tamper with evidence, remove evidence, damage evidence, threaten a federal prosecutor or an investigator or a judge, like you're going to defy. No, they're not going to, and they're going to be prosecuted for that. And that's why I document it, because it will be appreciated. All right. The entity is doing so while I'm documenting what LAPD is doing on video at 10:08 p.m. after a documented day of heavy helicopter activity, not different from gang stalking that's underway in Ontario. Helicopter is just the method of terrorism. LAPD is so obsessively gang stalking. They were so convinced that they were going to get away with kidnapping and murdering me. This is why you have this level of impunity. Okay, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 times that I'm documenting, and more than that, because that which I'm putting on the list, like for example, 7:30 a.m., which is documented on video, but it's not written on the list. This is just the list that I'm maintaining, but it is that which is in addition to any and everything that may or may not be in images and on video. The entity engaging in what is ongoing obsessive stalking by helicopter surveillance, which is incriminating the people of the state who are subject to an inevitable prosecution. Inevitable. And the demons of the LAPD are flying in circles over my apartment at 10:08 p.m. while monitoring what I'm doing online, just like the demons inside of this apartment building, while monitoring what I'm doing online, filling the apartment with amplified noise, the method not being helicopter activity, the method being amplified booming noises, which is speaking to what a whole bunch of old people are surrounded by, and none of them are seemingly bothered by it, just like they weren't bothered by the helicopter flying in circles like I documented for 10 minutes on 10:08 p.m. They're not bothered by that which they're participating in. They seem and feign ignorance and being oblivious to that which they're participating in, including under the fake sun and amongst impossible light activity. It is very highly unintelligent, and it is the obvious identification of third parties and state actors who are demons. They are demons. Okay, it is currently 12:32 p.m. The following video is captured on April 19, 2024, where the entity is gang stalking me in a specific environment, and I'm documenting it while I am publishing evidence online. This is P.O.C. and Alvarado Gardens is engaging in the same P.O.C. that Woodside Senior Apartments. And remember, the names of these apartment complexes is nothing other than an identifier for who are the people of the state, a commercial means. It's at a facilitating venue, okay, where nothing but criminal conduct is going to be prosecuted and documented. Nothing private going on, nothing lawful, nothing protected. All of it is exposed with regard to and vulnerable to what is prosecution and facilitation of that POC. That's why you have that supernatural environment present, both inside of Tracy's apartment and outside, where everything that I'm doing is a matter of public information, which is entirely sick. That's very sick and demented, and it's entirely illegitimate for any government in the United States to be engaging in. And as the United States government would posit on the world stage, no government should be engaging in because it's inhumane. But that's what the United States government is practicing in the United States of America. Okay, it is 12:33 p.m. This is P.O.C. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the POC, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state. And it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose
to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. LAPD is flying in circles over my apartment right now while I'm uploading the video. I want to be clear, Silverview Townhomes is also monitoring. They're being documented, and LAPD is flying over in circles while I'm uploading video. Remember, they're crossing paths, so they're engaging in the pattern of conduct directly while LAPD is amplifying helicopter activity. This is terrorism that the people of the state are engaging in together. Silverview Townhomes is going to be federally prosecuted. Everybody at Alvarado Gardens is going to federal prison. Crossing path. And I'm currently uploading the video of the light source that's over me out after 5 p.m. at Alvarado Gardens, where the entity is group stalking by helicopter on an ongoing basis. This is Silverview engaging in group stalking with LAPD, Silverview Townhomes. All right, this is the pattern of conduct that's underway in directed light. The entity is flying in circles above my apartment. It's 10:09 p.m. This is also, again, the federal stalking in violation of Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. And this is the evidence against the people of the state at Alvarado Gardens. They're all going to federal prison. This is the terrorism that the people of the state engage in. This is exactly what Starbucks is documented engaging in. This is the entity that it's acting in concert with. This is P.O.C. Flying in circles right above my apartment. Just like you saw them doing right over here. Flying in circles over there and flying in circles over Silverview in relevant positions. They're flying in circles right above. And this is while I'm uploading video documentation, which the entity is hostile to. Okay, these are the demons of the Los Angeles Police Department that are wearing diapers while they're stalking me 24 hours a day, and they're engaged in federal stalking criminal conduct on the venue of the internet with the people of the state who are hostile because they're being prosecuted and exposed, and they're going to federal prison for a prolonged term. And Silverview Townhomes, that entire community is going to be placed on the list maintained by the Department of Justice. They're going to be prosecuted as well. They're engaging, I want to be clear, acting directly in concert with LAPD. That's crossing a path while they're crossing a path while LAPD is flying over my apartment. Okay, that's P.O.C. This is the same entity that was flying for 47 minutes in a circle. And this is the same entity that engaged in kidnapping on June 16, 2022, while the light source was over 215 East C Street. That's the Ovid Family Community Library, where that light source is, you'll see it setting at after 7 p.m. as I uploaded the video to the Compare the POC folder, speaking to the pattern of conduct that's not only underway while they're engaging in kidnapping on June 16, 2022, and the light source is over that library, over my head. And then you're looking at what LAPD is group stalking in with a helicopter like they are right now, under the light source that was over me at the same time, which is what I documented. But then you're also understanding the entity is maintaining a light source here in relevant position while Silverview Townhomes are group stalking in the path, and everybody at Alvarado Gardens are group stalking. And so while they witness the evidence of what is going to prosecute them in federal court, the demon-possessed population engage in what is getting in a helicopter and flying in circles repeatedly. Those are the demon-possessed. That's how they respond to that evidence, which is going to result in their federal prosecution and federal prison. That's how they respond to that. Flying directly over my apartment in circles. All right, doing so for a prolonged period, and then I recorded on camera. Let me be clear. Silverview Townhomes, you saw that car driving in. They're engaging in relevant positioning, crossing a path. That's how the demon-possessed are monitoring you and also communicating a threat. Also directly communicating that threat because they know, since they're monitoring your documentation, keep you under surveillance, they know that you understand the significance of all of their activity. Silverview Townhomes, which is nothing other than the people of the state, engaged in relevant positioning, group stalking with the entity that's flying above my apartment. Which is serving to monitor on the venue of the internet. And I want to be clear, all they want to do is stop the video that's uploading to my Google Drive, and I'm still going to upload it. And you're still looking at this video of them engaging in what is ongoing stalking in a helicopter. And Rita Vega and every other apartment at Alvarado Gardens is going to be prosecuted in federal court, including the underage third-party group stalkers who you saw, Susana Martinez's teenagers, were monitoring with this entity that's stalking and engaging in terrorism, flying in helicopter, and they're doing so on plain view on camera. Okay, while they're engaged in criminal monitoring, knowing exactly what I'm publishing onto the internet. The Ontario Police Department, that's crossing path. The Ontario Police Department is the same entity that engaged in kidnapping under the light source, which you see again on video, under video documentation. That light source that's there at 10:30 in the morning, it's still there at that same address after 7 p.m. That's the entity that's flying over my apartment by helicopter right now. All 59 units here are filled with third parties who are jointly communicating a threat, demon-possessed psychopaths who are caught in the midst of their criminal surveillance system, and they're all going to federal prison. Every single last one of them. And all of them here, you know their social security numbers, you know their names, and you know all of whom, because I've published it to the Google Drive. And they will be added onto the list, which is going to be maintained by the Department of Justice. And every single item of evidence is going to be used against them and, for example, the Ontario Police Department. They're all going to federal prison engaging. That's the same entity that's engaged in kidnapping and defamation, flying in circles above my apartment while I'm uploading evidence about the pattern of conduct that they're engaging in. And then they go on about every other day like you're perplexed or confused about what a demon like Jung Pak of 1808 #1 is doing while she turns her back to me, knowing that she's being documented and still exhibiting that ongoing obsession to maintain presence in the path in concert with that demon-possessed agency that's flying over my apartment in helicopter. That's why they're all going to federal prison. And I want to be clear, Silverview Townhomes directly engaging in the pattern of conduct with simultaneity. That's crossing a path in light activity, and those demons are showing hostility while they engage in the demonic activity in concert at the same time that LAPD is flying over. Understand that. It's not traffic in directed light. That's how a demon is exhibiting hostility as well while they're monitoring. It is currently, and that's a sex offense. They're all going to be prosecuted as sex offenders because that's what a group stalker is. And Silverview Townhomes, the entire community, I have all of their addresses and I'll put it on this video as well. They're all going to be faced with federal prosecution. All of their, and by the way, when you get prosecuted as a group stalker, you're going to lose custody of your children. So they're engaged in a documented sex offense with the entity as a matter of documentation. So I want to make sure you understand Silverview Townhomes, who went out of their way to engage in the pattern of conduct by crossing path, creating light activity. While LAPD was flying circles over my apartment, Silverview Townhomes, again, third-party facilitating venue, 1830 through 1898 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California. They are equally posing a threat to the minor children whom they are in custody of while they are criminally facilitating the state's pattern of conduct. I want to make sure that you understand that. Group stalkers that are in custody of minor children are a threat to those minor children. They are making them criminals, making them sex offenders, making them terrorists, acting with that corrupt law enforcement agency who you just witnessed providing an ongoing admission against the entire state of California, who's going to be prosecuted for this criminal system that they are clearly engaging in, and criminal monitoring on the venue of the internet. Silverview Townhomes filled with third parties. The minors that are on this property with the people of the state are going to be taken from the custody of them, and they're all going to be prosecuted. And that engagement of what is the means of crossing a path and light activity is a show of hostility. It's the criminal element of monitoring and with simultaneity to the entity that's group stalking in concert with LAPD. They are acting in your face, threatening, posing the highest threat together, just like every other third party who is monitoring with the entity via law enforcement. All right, that's what they're doing by crossing paths. This entire community is in relevant position. The entity is keeping directed light over that apartment building. The light source which is right next door to Alvarado Gardens for the duration of the day, and they're covered in engineered light. The entity flying in circles over that community, which is in relevant position to me while monitoring me. They're going to be prosecuted, and you watch them engage in the pattern of conduct in concert with LAPD. Remember, it's not an individual that's crossing paths with light activity in the specific environment while LAPD is flying in circles above me. It's the entity that's entering into the gates, creating light activity and crossing path. All right. So I want to be clear, understand all of the implications with regard to Silverview Townhomes, who's also going to be facing a federal prosecution. And that's just the one with this address, which I want to publish. The people of the state that are covering the hillside, they were all monitoring, posing a threat also. While the entity is maintaining this specific environment, the entity is covered in the evidence. And that ongoing evidence against all of them while they live in relevant position. This is group stalking as a way of your life. This is a way of life for you. Group stalking, criminal surveillance, psychological torture. That's a federal prosecution. All right. And there are federal repercussions for being prosecuted as a group stalker. All right. It is currently 10:17 p.m. All 59 units here are filled with third parties, all of whom are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring and criminal activity in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. They're monitoring on the venue of the internet, knowing exactly what it is that I'm publishing onto the internet, engaging in what are acts intended to threaten the life, physical safety, and overall well-being while they're monitoring that documentation, and engaging in ongoing communication of that threat to your life while you do so with the criminal purpose
to obstruct justice. Okay, that's what that documentation just showed. And Todd Speaker is continuously documented both in and outside of the workplace, while his property is literally an ongoing crime scene. Everybody that lives here, everybody that is coming onto the grounds of his property is engaging in a criminal act committed by the state, which he is criminally facilitating, including while his employees are on the grounds engaging in the pattern of conduct. Okay, where your property is the means where the state is providing what is maintaining presence and engaging in the pattern of conduct, and the state is present directly and vicariously, you will be held liable for that civilly and criminally. It is currently, again, 10:18 p.m. and this is P.O.C. 4:22 p.m. as you can see on April 19, 2025. It's Saturday. It's the same day and I'm at the same address, 408 West G Street in Ontario, California, where the sun has not gone anywhere and neither has the engineered light that's around the same front door. And the fake sun has traveled as I took pictures at 11:21 a.m. The fake sun is in this position as I stand at this front door, and it's over the top of my head where the city of Ontario is crossing path, gang stalking me in an aircraft. And the fake sun is now 5 hours later at the same exact apartment, not having gone anywhere. In other words, this is the supernatural feature regarding federal group stalking and monitoring, which is shown and proven and exhibited through the gang stalking conduct by the demons who are maintaining presence under an idle light source, where you're looking at what is engineered light that's illuminating the outside of the patio glass door, that is creating my shadow on the inside of the apartment. This is not sunlight, this is impossible light, and I also have multiple shadows. Here's a taller shadow, here's the shorter shadow right here. I've got multiple shadows of my arm as well, of my hand. This is engineered light that fills the apartment. You can see the shadow of the furniture and the plant here. This is all impossible light, and this is concentrated. All right, this is where the entity is keeping the fake sun in the same exact location. You saw it, and that's a demon that already knows what I'm doing in the apartment. Engineered lights dragging on the ground. You know what they're doing, gang stalking, and that is an entity that is acting together. The Latino male gang stalker with the Ontario PD after 5 p.m. walking to and from his vehicle while he's monitoring, and that's what he's doing, gang stalking. Right now, 6GBB613, that's a predator who's also a sex offender monitoring my genitalia with such detail and knowledge about what I'm doing in the bathroom inside of this apartment under what is a fake sun. That's a psychopath. That psychopath is engaging in what is obsessive stalking in the parking lot, waiting for me, anticipating for me to come to this manner where they can maintain activity, driving in a parking lot where the sun is in the same location where it was at 11 o'clock in the morning. This Latino male is going to federal prison. He's gang stalking, which is what LAPD is doing in the same exact specific environment, not a natural environment. And he's doing so not having a helicopter. He's moving his heavyweight person around, which is creating light activity while he paces around, monitoring a woman very conveniently at an apartment complex where the fake sun remains over the same strip of sidewalk where a bunch of demons are stalking together. Okay, so let me show you the fake sun. You see it through the patio glass door. Let me show you what he's gang stalking under. And this is what he's gang stalking under, and he knows what I'm saying inside of the apartment, and he represents the entity. That's why he is going to federal prison, but he's also doing so the same thing where helicopter activity is sharing his engagement in the elements of monitoring. That's a sex offender. And that's also a psychopath that doesn't look at you while stalking you, that doesn't address you, doesn't have to talk to you while they're stalking you and monitoring everything that's happening in an apartment where the fake sun is not at the same time. Contrary to what I'm documenting, what you're going to look at now and listen to is the pattern of conduct in Los Angeles, where the sun is not at the same time over the top of my head while I'm at my office. At Alvarado Gardens at the same exact time, which I documented at 4:20 p.m., where a Latino male gang stalking using a vehicle as a means of crossing path, which is creating light activity with simultaneity to what I'm doing, coming to the patio blinds. Stalkers waiting until the moment that I come in a manner in order to cross paths with me and get in their vehicle, get out of their vehicle and walk to their apartment, which is their means whereby they're engaging in the elements of monitoring and wanting to appear as though it's normal conduct that's coincidentally happening. That is gang stalking, and it is the conduct of those who are psychopaths and who are also perpetual sex offenders. While you're looking at my shadow on the inside of the apartment, that's how you're understanding the deliberate conduct of what is facilitation of demons in an environment. And those psychopaths are going to prison and mental asylums. It is what everybody in these units here, because you're going to listen to what LAPD is doing with the people that stayed at Alvarado Gardens, and that's why everybody in this building and everybody in this building is going to prison. Okay, he's walking back out, pacing, another demon, same P.O.C, 6GBB673 under the fake sun, because this is what LAPD is doing, going to prison. Okay, P.O.C.
That is the pattern of conduct, and this is what LAPD is doing at the same exact time, being a sex offender and being a demon-possessed gang stalker, using helicopters, gang stalking with the people of the state who are going to prison, like I documented at Alvarado Gardens, like is the case at Woodside Senior Apartments. This is impunity, not unloading things out of your vehicle. It's activity creation, and obsessively doing so, maintaining ongoing monitoring as I walk in and out of the apartment, and also as I walk inside of the apartment. Everything that you hear is activity under a fake sun, okay? It's activity under a fake sun. So I want you to see this, because the sound of a seesaw is monitoring by a demon that knows when my panties are down and also knows what I'm stating and knows about my physical movement. And that's the City of Ontario's gang stalking. It is the removal of Paul Leon, who was a demon-possessed, sexually violent, psychopathic gang stalking mayor. And no one is going to remain in public office having that atrocious resume, which is proven by the federal group stalking and monitoring underway by the City of Ontario and the people of the state in the City of Ontario. This is what is shared, however, amongst the people of the state in Los Angeles and the people of the state in Ontario, while you're looking at that P.O.C, which is what I documented. This is LAPD that's flying over that demonic light that you see in my office. These are demons flying a helicopter under the light source that's over me. All right, at 1810 North Alvarado Street, and they're continuously doing so. This is why I'm telling you that they're wearing diapers. They never cease and never take a break. There is no time to go to the bathroom as often as and as long as they are stalking me. They must be wearing diapers, okay? I want to be clear. It is currently 4:21 p.m. and they are obsessively stalking. There is nothing comical about it. The people of the state are going to be sitting in federal prison. Everybody that all 50. In license 6G-BB-673, he is going to federal prison. He's gang stalking even while documentation about his domestic terrorism and psychological torture as a way of life, gang stalking by residents at the facilitating venue while I'm documenting his terrorism. He is repeatedly engaging in monitoring in real time with knowledge of the fact this is somebody that's also engaged in federal stalking. That's why he's going to federal prison, okay? And so is everyone in units 33 through 64. This is impunity that's also being documented along with the criminal pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. The entity is using the vehicles on his old bucket, license 6GBB673, sounds the alarm, which creates light activity while that hostile, demon-possessed, sex-offending group stalker knows that I just read his license plate again. That's a very heavily documented tactic by demons who know that they're being documented. They're going to prison, and so that's the hollow victory of monitoring the federal prosecutor. Under what is the fake sun, where LAPD is engaging in the same thing that Mike Lorenz and Paul Leon, such that Karen Bass and Dominic Choi are engaging in the specific environment. They're not ignorant. They are sharing that criminal pattern of conduct, and the demon-possessed population are going to prison and mental asylums for it. All right, and this is what I'm talking about on this day at the same time at 4:20. 59 units as I submit tons and tons of video documentation establishing their criminal facilitation of the state's criminal pattern of conduct. That's why the light source is over me at 4:21 p.m. and not over the parking lot of the Stater Brothers at San Antonio Hope Boulevard. That's why it's not over the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. At the same time, that's why it's not over the Fontana Lewis Library, as the documentation also shows. That's why it's not remaining over 215 East C Street. None of that is and remember the significance of what I'm stating in the natural environment. It is not over, like I'm showing you, through Tracy Banks's patio glass door, the same apartment, in other words, that is less than 600 square feet, where I'm merely pointing my camera north above my head to get the fake sun at 11:21. And as I merely pointed to the direction east at the same exact address, having gone nowhere, and I'm capturing the same occurrence, which is a supernatural one, because that means Florida never had a sun in their sky space. If the one sun that is exclusive, that also has the ability to create my shadow above my head on the inside of the apartment and create sunlight on the ceiling inside of this apartment and keep stationary light framing the front door of this apartment, and sunlight so powerful that shoots horizontally through the peephole of the front door at this apartment, where the sun is also documented rising and setting, that is never moving from this apartment, where license 6GBB673 is clearly engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring, stalking a woman while gang stalking by residents, and also doing so while that woman is documenting the fact that he is stalking her with the intent to commit murder and sexually violate her. That level of impunity is speaking to what is impossible. Not the fact that it's not happening. Clearly it's happening. I documented it. It's supernatural, however, that it's happening. That is the fake sun. That is the specific environment. That is the crime scene where criminal surveillance by the government is underway. And it uses the unemployed, the overweight,
gang stalkers at Woodside Senior Apartments that are both unemployed and engage in what is getting in and out of their vehicles. This is the pivotal point in their day, pacing back and forth like psychopaths that they are to their vehicles from the parking lot in order to monitor me. They're monitoring the evidence that's going to be submitted against these sex offenders individually and collectively in federal court. And every single last one, LYNDA Reyes, every other employee, every gang stalker, all 144 units going to be prosecuted with the impunity exhibited by this demon, this sex offender, this creeper stalking in the parking lot, waiting for the pivotal moment to cross path by sitting in the middle of the parking lot and then driving into the parking space that's not coincidentally in perfect alignment with me, getting out the vehicle, which is the means of nothing other than pacing under the fake sun where engineer light, not sunlight, is what's covering everything. Monitoring. Stalkers, okay? That's what's speaking to when I'm talking about the sun not being, because there is only one sun and it could not naturally be the case, especially while it's documented again, sitting at one apartment. That's the P.O.C. that's also underway in Los Angeles.
Shared sky space, nor can you fly next to the sun and avoid being burnt up in the sky, nor is the sun ever rising and setting at one address. Nor does sunlight create any smoke, rectangular shape of appearing to like smoke on the wall, but it's showing your reflection, creating multiple shadows. That's not sunlight either. All right, this is the environment that demons are affiliated with law enforcement agencies are doing, and it's the provision of evidence to people, because the people are here and they are again surrounded with what is evidence and showing what is impunity. This is an underage demon engaging in stalking, covering up her face because she knows that she's on camera. And this is all, so let me be clear, impunity shown by an underage man, and they know exactly what they're doing. That ongoing malice is still there, light activity, relevant positioning, and engaging with a stalking by walking under the light source and engineered light, and doing so when
That's exactly what license 6GBB673 is doing, sitting in the parking lot in the vehicle and waiting until the moment that I walk toward the patio glass door. They're doing the same thing while I remain on the couch, pacing all around. As I move around, especially as I have my communication device and document, this is the demons that want to appear as though they're going about their business while crossing a path, light activity, audible activity is underway. That's a psychopath that wants to appear like they're not gang stalking in an obsessive and psychotic manner. That level of malice, in other words, is what is going to be used to both diagnose and criminally prosecute. There is nothing coincidental. The deliberate and intentional purpose of the entire system is shown through that specific environment. You're not ever, in other words, forgetting the fact that my shadow is appearing above my head while you see someone feet away from me in that same exact environment. Understanding how gang stalking is underway and understanding everything that the demons who are obsessively consumed with now what is evidence. So not only are they anticipating my movements, they're anticipating evidence that I'm going to use to juxtapose their sexual appetite for violence, their mental illness, their psychopathic appetite for gang stalking in the first place. This is aware of the video that's captured at 4:21 p.m. And as I refer to it, as I access it on YouTube, monitoring everything on my communication device, already having a demon in position, sitting there stalking in the middle of the parking lot and waiting until the moment that I open the patio glass door to drive into that parking space, get out of the vehicle, pace around it, and walk back to the apartment, and then walk back to the vehicle to get out the Bud Light and walk back to the apartment. That's a demon. Those are demons that are pacing. Okay, and they're pacing under a mutually exclusive environment, which LAPD shares. And this demon that is under the age of 18 is engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct. The entity that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, which is the government, is engaging in that which is inherently corrupting the youth. They are fully engaged in federal stalking. All the teenagers that have cell phones, they are engaging in what is pacing around, monitoring adults, terrorizing adults, psychologically torturing adults, and they do so while in the custody of gang stalkers themselves over 18. That's also why you're going to prison, as I've documented it. The entity is doing so with knowledge that they're being documented. This is what this minor age third party is doing. And she is heavily documented in the custody of Susana Martinez, or at least in the custody of Susana Martinez's minor children at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles. Susana Martinez has not escaped any sort of prosecution. She is being used to juxtapose what the entire population is doing in the state of California, gang stalking, including with children. Susana Martinez's day in federal court has not expired. There's no statute of limitations. She's going to federal prison. Like I said, when this teenager is gang stalking with her kids and while she is in custody of them and facilitating it by living at a crime scene.
hospital when their parents should be taking them somewhere and throwing holy water on them, because that is sad. All right, this is group stalking by the demon-possessed law enforcement agency. They're acting together, and the people of the state are going to be prosecuted amongst being engaged in criminal surveillance. Inherent, embedded in that offense, the people of the state that live in Alvarado Gardens are going to be prosecuted for engaging in what is systematic contribution to the delinquency of minors, because they live at the crime scene where a series of ongoing federal offenses are systematic. Engaging in terrorism with the same law enforcement agency demons. They're under the light source that's remaining over Alvarado Gardens, and those under the age of majority engaging in what is the pathetic act of emptying the trash, and that's how a demon-possessed group stalker is monitoring you. All right, and that's an underage minion. That's sad.
All right, so the convenience of gang stalking in the specific environment, pacing back and forth by walking from the apartment, crossing paths with me, creating light activity while my voice is literally the audible activity. They do that both while sharing in the elements of monitoring and in the course of documentation by plane and helicopter. They do it while the entity is documenting, and the same elements with or without the state sharing in those elements of monitoring. The state is always sharing in the elements. The state is always present vicariously. The state is always present inconspicuously. The state is always present, engaging in those elements of monitoring, creating light activity, conspicuously and inconspicuously. The state that arrives on my video documentation, on my podcast, by amplified noise, you see the planes, you see the helicopters, you see the police, fire, and ambulance. Those are the ones that are going to prison, and that's the entity acting conspicuously, sharing in the elements of monitoring. It is state action while a teenager under the age of majority crosses path, pacing, walking to and from the dumpster. That's what the demon at Woodside Senior Apartments, under the same exact circumstances, which is a supernatural phenomenon that is documented as a means of recognizing a pattern, a supernatural pattern, which is also speaking to severe mental instability. And it's literally disturbing that minor children are engaging in this antisocial and psychopathic conduct, which is serving to terrorize and psychologically torture another person, which they intentionally do with knowledge. They even have been taught to and derive their own pleasure from it. I've documented underage minions engaging in what is harassment, engaging in finding satisfaction and enjoyment in the gang stalking system, which the government is engaging in the ongoing contribution to the delinquency of minors as a statewide pattern of conduct. This is why the governor is unfit to be in office. Understand that. This is the entity that is gang stalking as parents, as politicians, as those that are a part of the law enforcement while gang stalking with minors. It is literally antithetical to what the demons want you to know that they're actually about. Okay, they're about all manner of gang stalking. That's why LAPD is engaging in this on video, like I documented today. I'm trying to zoom out. That's what you're looking at. I want you to see again. I'm going to finish the rest of this video so you can hear the analysis. But I wanted to juxtapose with what is the remaining presence of the light source. This is what you saw this morning at Woodside today. The light source never went anywhere. This is where it began as I woke up at 11. And it has not deviated. It hasn't gone anywhere. It stayed over the same strip of sidewalk where it is right now. And this is where the city of Ontario at 11:22 a.m. This is where the city of Ontario is gang stalking like LAPD is over my head, where the fake sun is over my head, and doing so while it remains. This is at 11:22 a.m. The entity is keeping the fake sun in the same position. 2 hours later at 1:01 p.m. The fake sun has not gone anywhere. There is also no sun in a natural environment in Florida, in New York, in Mississippi, in Nevada, in Northern California over Eric Spencer in Oakland, California. There is no natural environment. He is gang stalking his own relative. He's going to federal prison. He's gang stalking me while LAPD is terrorizing me and psychologically torturing me in Los Angeles. Eric Spencer is going to federal prison. He is fully engaged in and sought to profit from my demise, which is a demon-possessed gang stalker that I'm merely blood related to. He is going to federal prison. As sure as I am documenting 6GBB 673 gang stalking me with that ongoing impunity, Eric Corey Spencer is going to federal prison. That is the inevitable demise of those that are in your family that are gang stalking. They are harming each other while they first sought out to conspire against an American citizen in furtherance of murder and theft and criminal defamation. And now that very population is serving for the prison term of Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks and everybody else in units 33 through 64. They are entirely being prosecuted, but let's not forget who's going to prison. Those whose name I know. This is Eric Spencer's criminal pattern of conduct, gang stalking his own sister. If you can't fathom that, you need to understand that this is the work of Satan, this demon possession.
Okay, the entity is keeping the fake sun as you see at 1 o'clock. You can see it reflecting off of the vehicle in the same parking lot at 2:45 p.m. And you can see it while demons are the same population crossing a path while I'm in use of my communication device. The sun did not go anywhere. You see it over the same strip of sidewalk at 2:46 as I walk out and show you as I walk outside of the front door and compare it to the impossible light that's appearing on the inside light, shooting in the middle of the air, creating my shadow on the wall in the depths of the living room, while the patio glass door, that's a covered patio outside, that's all manner of impossible light, while the sun is on the same day over me in Los Angeles, where LAPD is gang stalking in an environment that's readily identifiable. That's significant about regarding what, again, 6GBB 673 is doing with knowledge. Deliberately engaged, very calculated, and also very psychotic and sexually perverted. That sex offender that doesn't mind engaging and showing the federal court how much of a sex offender, how much of a predator, how much of a stalker he is and intends to continue to be. That's why he's going to prison. And the gang stalking police, gang stalking mayors rely on it. They rely on it. This is what LAPD is gang stalking me, the circumstances that LAPD is gang stalking me under. While you're looking at impossible light activity inside of this apartment in Ontario, you're understanding it's no product of sunlight that's in the same position in Los Angeles outside of my office, where the address that you're looking at 6:20 p.m. is 1810 North Alvarado Street apartment, 1810 North Alvarado Street, Los Angeles, California. I'm standing at my leasing office door, and this building right here is building apartment. Starbucks in the state of... Sorry, that building is apartment 1810. That's the most precise address with regard to the direction that I'm facing, the time of day, as long as the sun has been there, arriving at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It is 4:20. The entity is always rising and setting the sun as I'm documenting, just like I document in Ontario, where the entity is gang stalking as a population in the unintelligent and unsophisticated manners, as you can see the unemployed at Woodside Senior Apartments engaging in, okay? Gang stalking with like LAPD is doing on this day. For the same intersection. It's over me at Starbucks at 7:50 in the morning. It's over me at the parking lot across the street from Starbucks at the Stater Brothers grocery store at 4:18 in the afternoon. That's capturing the pattern of conduct. That's a demon who's engaging what is obsessed stalking, a psychopath who's threatening and targeting somebody else while she wants to outwardly appear as though she's just emptying her trash. And she does that a lot. I want you to understand that's a psychopath, and that's operating over a minor child. That's the psychopathic conduct. That's the behavioral pattern. That's a psychopath that wants to look like they're doing something else while their shadow's moving across the wall. They're entirely focused on you. That's the demon-possessed population, and it's operating over those under the age of majority. You're removing the minor children from here. You may not be able to save their souls, but you're going to prosecute for the criminal system that they're engaging in, and that's what the federal government's going to be concerned with. It is currently 4:24 p.m. That's the ongoing evidence against Susana Martinez and all those minor children. She's going to federal prison for that, and she's also, the minors are also going to be prosecuted as group stalkers themselves. As you see, they're perfectly capable and fully knowledgeable of what they're engaging in and where they're doing it and with who they're doing it. All right, with whom they are doing it. It's currently 4:25 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, I want you to see again one more time what LAPD is doing. This is LAPD where you're seeing that impossible light activity in my office. This is LAPD that's flying over that demonic light that you see in my office. These are demons flying a helicopter under the light source that's over me. All right, at 1810 North. All right, at 1810 North Alvarado Street, and as you can see, they are flying right under the fake sun that's hovering, and they are not set ablaze. They're not set on fire. And this is the same apartment building where the entity has the fake sun, where LAPD is doing the same thing in the morning, like I'm documenting on a daily basis at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles. The entity that is so obviously engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring at this juncture in the evidence is the entity that belongs in the prisons and the mental asylums where the people of the state are going. The prosecution of the government itself that's gang stalking directly is going to also be comprehensively prosecuted, such as those that engage in kidnapping, like the Ontario Police Department, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, and those like Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks, and all those engaging in the ways in which I've been subject to multiple kidnappings while this entity has been gang stalking me for years, seeking to obstruct justice, seeking to defame my character while I've been documenting and sought to jump in front of me, if you will, jump ahead of me by gang stalking me and trying to defame, render illegitimate all of my evidence regarding what the entity has been doing my entire life. Okay, it is currently 4:45 p.m. on Saturday, April 19th, 2025, and this is P.O.C. at Woodside Senior Apartments in Ontario, California. All right, this is where demons who are monitoring evidence are
pacing outside around. The significance of their pacing conduct is their creation of impossible light that's moving across the patio glass door. So as I open up that patio glass door, you can see the engineered light where they're intentionally monitoring with the intent to psychologically torture, while the demon possessed are using their bodies as a means of light activity, while their shadows, upright, magnified in size, move across Tracy Banks's patio glass door, where they know exactly where I'm at, which you also know that because of the fake sun that's over the same apartment, and they know exactly what I'm doing based on the pattern of conduct of stalking with amplified noise and impossible light activity, especially as I document, which is also occurring while I'm capturing what is my shadow appearing away from me on the living room wall, which is under no circumstances naturally occurring. Okay, this is where the demons who are gang stalking with license 6GBB673, that sex offender that's showing how much of a stalker he is and a threat to any woman. He is gang stalking with the government that's in the criminal elements of monitoring the Ontario International Airport, removal of Paul Leon, a sex offender, who is monitoring me inside of the apartment where you're looking at the impossible. The shadow on my of my body as I'm moving, so you can see where demons are pacing in the sky space, monitoring evidence. Paul Leon's impunity is a matter of documentation. It's a matter of evidence. It's removing every gang stalking mayor, as you see the impunity of the gang stalking mayor in Ontario, as a matter of documentation, which is exactly what I documented in Los Angeles, the impunity of the gang stalker Karen Bass, whose impunity is evident in the body of evidence, which is going against any government where the city is engaged in that P.O.C. This is where, again, here's the shade, and as I change zoom, the demons in this building that are gang stalking with demons pasted in the parking lot, that's the one with the handicap license plate, the African American. She's going to federal prison. She knows exactly what I'm doing, and she's doing so while the demons are filling with impossible light activity and amplified noise, while the Ontario International Airport demons that are not coming from any Terminal 2 or Terminal 4, they're not flying to San Francisco over Woodside Senior Apartments, they're not headed to Canada over Woodside Senior Apartments, they're not flying to Oakland, California, they're not flying out to Sacramento, they're gang stalking, flying in relevant position where the fake sun is sitting all day long, where demons are gang stalking in a manner that is impossible to coexist with nature under any circumstances, including while the fake sun is setting in LA. All right, no shadow is going to occur naturally. That's only occurring where demons are gang stalking. And with the amplified noise that's occurring inside of the apartment while the Ontario International Airport is flying, crossing path, and there's no sun here, and you see that light activity inside of the apartment, all these demons in this building are going to prison. She's walking, monitoring with a child in engineered light. All right, and this is the same medical health patient. She's going to a mental asylum, and the demons in this building are all over 55, and they're gang stalking. While you see my shadow, a supernatural occurrence, you're not separate from that. You're directly engaging in it, and she's still doing it. She's losing her kids that she's gang stalking with. Let me show you evidence of possible light while you're crossing path. Right, this environment is not separate. That's speaking to psychopaths. For a gang stalking while your panties are down in the apartment, gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport, crossing path, using children to engage in monitoring together, walking to the laundry room while the apartment's filled with what are their shadows appearing inside of this apartment. That's the same psychopath that's gang stalking at 8:56 in the morning, where there's no light that's ever going to be the product of the sun in the evening, contrary to what you're seeing right now while I'm opening up. And there's no sunlight here. This is all shade. And you're seeing the same pattern of stalking with light amongst demons who are stalking with light. Demons who are predators, sex offenders in custody of children. That's exactly what Susana Martinez is engaging in while minor children are engaging in domestic terrorism with the government that uses planes and helicopters and spends 24 hours, millions of dollars on criminal surveillance for somebody that has broken no law. The only thing that I've done is I've broken protocol with regard to exposing and prosecuting and educating on how you prosecute any malicious pattern of conduct by a demon-possessed government that's monitoring American citizens with the demons who are the people of the state. Everybody in this building is stalking with amplified noise. They're all 55 and over, and they're all going to prison and mental asylums. Everybody in this building that you see in custody of minor children even, they're going to prison. That's impunity while you're crossing path and your shadows appearing on the inside. That's terrorism and psychological torture, which this sex offender enjoys doing. She hates her children that she's going to lose custody of. That's why she's gang stalking with them. All right, she's going to federal prison. No, she's going to a mental asylum. This is P.O.C. where this is the same apartment at 6:20 p.m. This is the same apartment where you're looking at it at 11 o'clock, where Ontario is gang stalking, flying right here at 11:20, 1 a.m. and the fake sun is here. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. While you hear amplified noise of demons listening to the damning evidence, it is nothing other than on what is the west side of my same person at the same apartment where the city of Ontario is again stalking in planes. This is again demonic activity, and it's also sexual violence, because that same demon is not only monitoring me, she's also monitoring me while she is living her life because she's a heterosexual woman. She's engaging in what is conduct sexual in nature while gang stalking and monitoring my genitalia in the bathroom, which I'm also not inviting her into as well. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:21 p.m. The impunity of AVANATH Capital Management is also hereby being documented, and AVANATH is going to be prosecuted for domestic terrorism and psychological torture that it is engaging in with impunity, including that which is documented while the government is acting with impunity, while its co-defendants, the people of the state, both working at the venue, coming onto the grounds of the venue, and pacing around, residing at the venue, are engaging in that pattern of conduct while their terrorism and sexual violence and psychological torture tactics are being documented. AVANATH is going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally. This is P.O.C. at 6:22 p.m. All right, the video that you just listened to is evidence of what is stalking with light. The conduct of the act of the commission of stalking with light is entirely the behavior of demon-possessed people. It's a demonic act. It's supernatural, and it accomplishes the criminal conduct of a government that's monitoring an American citizen, which is in violation of both your human rights and your state and federal constitutional rights. And the government does it without any warrant or probable cause at that. The entity is doing so amongst the people of the state who are residing in all the units who are subject to federal prison by virtue of this criminal conduct. And not only are they subject to federal prison and mental asylums, the documentation that you just listened to is evidence of impunity and ongoing criminal acts of obstruction. That is, the demon-possessed who are mentally ill psychopaths who are very delusional in their ongoing continuation of this criminal pattern of conduct based on what it is that they are going to suffer as a consequence, which is, again, both public humiliation and federal prosecution for terrorism, and unprecedented level of prosecution as sex offenders, which is going to change the future prospects in their life for the rest of however much they have to live. But nonetheless, the entity is gang stalking and stalking with impossible light. The demon in unit number 41 is crossing path with a minor child. This is the demon that is gang stalking and by residents in unit number 41. She's a violent sex offender. Her license plate, with regard to one of the vehicles that she is exercising control over and accessing, and she is also engaging in monitoring this evidence in real time. She is going to a mental asylum. The entity is engaging in the very highly predictable and ongoing continuous documentation of stalking with amplified noise, which is happening amongst impossible light, while her shadow is moving across the patio glass door of Tracy Banks, the one who's also going to a mental asylum, the one whose mental illness is also exhibited by that stalking with light conduct that's happening in her apartment, while she's gang stalking me as I remain in her apartment, which is nothing other than a very easy and simple means of identifying the defendant. Not any sort of suggestion of separation or ignorance or being nonchalant or being absolutely sane under any circumstances or normal. This is, again, a witch that is gang stalking with all the demons who are gang stalking with her while I'm inside of her apartment. And license 9 Charlie Zebra Charlie 059. Again, this is 6:24 p.m., 6:25 p.m. ongoing amplified noise booming sounding inside of the apartment while I'm documenting this sex offender, this predator that's in custody of the minor child. This looks like to be a toddler. She has two of them that she is heavily documented engaging in terrorism and sexual violence with. In the same way that you don't have sex with minor children, you don't bring children when you engage in sexual acts of violence against other people. You do not engage in the sex offense of federal group stalking and monitoring with children. You also don't do that and show the federal government how much of a sex offender you are by doing it on video while you're being documented for it. That is the sex offender that must be restrained. And that's why she is going to a mental asylum. She's going to a mental asylum also for the impunity with which she is engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring somebody that is clearly delusional and suffering from what is a severe mental illness, not only because she's gang stalking, but she is still continuously gang stalking when her inevitable demise is something that she is witnessing, and yet she persists. That is what is relevant with regard to the amplified booming that's heard inside of this apartment right now while I am in the midst of documenting her and documenting the people at 6:24 and 6:25 p.m. Also, while I'm capturing the video, the apartment is filled with amplified noise while she is on video crossing path while in custody of the minor child, a toddler, who was creating light activity
activity, crossing path, and creating audible activity, and is acting with impunity and the intent to obstruct justice while his gang stalking mother is causing him to do so, making him a domestic terrorist. And so is the government. The government is also in every way incentivizing public corruption and the corruption of minors, contributing to their delinquency, gang stalking with them and through them. This is, under all accounts, the entity in Unit 41 who was losing custody of her children, of their children, her and her baby daddy, both obsessed with my genitalia, both obsessed with a delusional prospect of seeking some sort of act of retaliation. You're not retaliating when you're being federally prosecuted for everything you do. That's not retaliation. That's very foolish. And it's a matter of evidence. And that's why her and her baby daddy, her dad and her brother, sister, whatever their relation is, they're all going to mental asylums, the whole bunch over 18. It is a minimum of 1, 2, and 3 males. So that's 5 adults and 2 minor children, and residing in the unit that AVANATH Capital Management has given to an employee who was also engaged in that pattern of conduct, which is sexually violent while in custody of minor children with impunity and the intent to obstruct justice, meaning harassing me more, terrorizing me more while I document, which they are all aware of because they're also engaged in federal stalking together. That is the legal analysis for every co-defendant that's gang stalking as an entity, especially at Woodside. They're all going to be prosecuted for violence for stalking in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, which you are fully engaging and violating as you are residing at a facilitating venue, stalking with the government that maintains a specific environment around me, the one who was being gang stalked, and is relying on the residents, the occupants, the population, and the government itself to maintain such psychopathic methods of of stalking someone by monitoring them. Okay, understand monitoring is demonic. Monitoring is accomplished pursuant to stalking, and it is psychopathic to stalk someone with noise. It's psychopathic to stalk someone with light. It's psychopathic to stalk someone right in front of their face, right in their presence, while you both maintain a demeanor as though you're a stranger to them and you don't know them, which is the reality with regard to the natural relationship. I don't know the names of any of these demons who are gang stalking, but I know their condition and I know their criminal pattern of conduct, and they are also obsessed with me, which is also proven evidence. That is psychopathic. It is also psychopathic to gang stalk your daughter, to gang stalk your sister, to gang stalk your relative, to gang stalk your friend, to gang stalk your girlfriend, to gang stalk your love interest, or whatever demons are telling themselves about the one whom they are in any sort of relationship with while they are monitoring them at the same time. Psychopaths are going to be diagnosed and criminally prosecuted at the same time. All right. And this is what's underway at Woodside Senior Apartments when you are looking at the fake son that's in no position to be the cause for my shadow upright on the depths of the living room wall. And I captured that video because the same demons that are pacing on the sidewalk, like the demon in unit number 41 is on video with license 9CZC059, blatantly crossing paths, stalking with impunity in front of the federal judge that's going to clearly see who you are, and you're going to federal prison for that. In other words, the audacity of you to engage in terrorism in such a manner, in such defiance of the law, while you are being exposed for it, since you have no shame for being a terrorist, since you have no intent to seek to stop being a threat, you are going to be put away in cages where you belong. That's the legal analysis behind such barbaric and Neanderthalic conduct. And that is also what justice requires. They are showing their own true colors. They are walking out what it is that I've already said that they are doing in the environment that is irreconcilable, that it is impossible and it's entirely also unreasonable to suggest the entity is maintaining this environment that's entirely supernatural, and the demons are just coincidentally stalking with light, coincidentally stalking with noise, coincidentally maintaining presence that just so happens to occur at the same time. I walk out the door at the same time. I go to the patio glass door at the same time. I start operating my device the same time. I start reviewing evidence that also happens to be damning toward the defendants who are just coincidentally engaging in that. That's an ongoing collection of facts that is entirely unreasonable to suggest that that's the case. It's unreasonable, and that is not what's happening. But like I said, I can always concede and entertain the opposing argument, but there is no opposing argument. It is nothing other than, and it could not be anything other than what the evidence proves that it is. And in order to prove the demonic activity, the demonic nature, this body of evidence, the P.O.C, is that which surpasses the the legal level of proof that is required in criminal court when you're prosecuting. The legal standard, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, the P.O.C has exceeded that legal standard, and that is as unfair as that is, it is also necessary because of the level of criminality, because of the size of the public corruption, because of the impact of such allegations. All right. So it is something that exceeds what is beyond a reasonable doubt. Where you're looking at not only the crime, the actors, but the environment that they're doing it in. You have a collection of facts that is beyond any reasonable doubt, and it's beyond any actual doubt. Okay. You're not actually doubting what it is that you're looking at, and you're looking at that ongoing cyclical pattern of what are delusional psychopaths who are gang stalking by residents. So amplified noise, again, license 9CZC059 with 2 minor children who she is a threat to, and everybody in that household, while she's been monitoring my genitalia, just like I documented yesterday at 6:50 a.m. and I documented last night after 11 p.m. She is a sex offender. You could see her face while she's gang stalking with toddlers under the fake sun, and she's doing so while on video. This impunity is the same level of impunity while she is monitoring evidence, and she is harassing and psychologically torturing as the entity that's sharing in the elements. That's why the fake sun is still here after 6 p.m. like you can hear and like you can see if you go to the YouTube channel or the P.O.C. website, which is the YouTube channel is the P.O.C. and the P.O.C. website is at thisisthepoc.wordpress.com, where you will see the video captured today. And that timestamp of that video is captured. Let me get that for you, where you will see my shadow is appearing at a distance on the living room wall, just like it is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, by the way, where the same demons, the same family of demons are pacing under what they know to be a fake sun and what they know to be engineered light. And what they anticipate to do is have multiple shadows on the inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, while they are pacing an engineered light with children at that, terrorizing and psychologically torturing another. And then while I go about documenting and publishing their criminal conduct, they then resort to the ongoing criminal acts of obstruction of justice. This is harassing and terrorizing and psychologically torturing the federal prosecutor, which no defendant will ever engage in absent what is enhancement to time in prison and mental asylums. All right. It is nothing other than conclusive, punctuating evidence regarding the severe mental instability of the demon-possessed gang stalker themselves. And it includes this demon in Unit 41 that is in custody of a minor child. The federal prosecutor who was at the same time capturing evidence about what the significance of what she's doing. It is impossible that her shadow appears on the patio glass door. It's impossible that her shadow appears literally on the sidewalk, because that's not sunlight. So she is in what is engineered light that is not sunlight under what is a fake sun that is, again, at an angle behind the building. So that was my shadow appearing upright inside of the apartment where there's no concentrated light there. So in the shade, in darkness, light is manifesting out of nowhere. That's not my magic trick. It's documenting the demon-possessed gang stalkers who are also stalking with amplified noise inside of this apartment. The demon-possessed couple in Unit 52 is going to federal prison. The demon-possessed gang stalker in Unit 56 with the 2 dogs, she's going to federal prison. The demon-possessed gang stalker in Unit 55, she's going to a mental asylum with license 5WB715. The demon-possessed gang stalkers in Unit number 41, all 5 of the adults are going to mental asylums, and their children are going to be relieved, protected by being taken out of their custody. And anyone that is not a natural born citizen, any defendant gang stalk, they're going to be deported at that. So if they're not, any of them are not natural born citizens, they're also going to face deportation. All of the demons in units 33 through 64 who are monitoring me with amplified noise, hallmark, in concert with the gang stalking entity that used commercial plane in that video, in that specific environment, hallmark, that are gang stalking amongst impossible light activity with under the enduring idle fake sun, hallmarks. They're going to prison and mental asylums. And this is all prosecuting gang stalkers whose name I know, like Tracy Banks, like Eric Corey Spencer. This is why people like Jason Isaac Fields are inevitably permanently removed from law enforcement. If this demon has a position in law enforcement, he has lost it. And there is no so-called investigation that's going to redeem that. It is irredeemable in the way that, in the same manner that I'm supposed to be dead, his career in law enforcement is dead. Okay. And that is a necessary means of justice. The entity is gang stalking. The entity is still gang stalking. And that is something that no federal investigation is curing, and nor has it cured yet. It's an ongoing threat to my life. And this is why he's being removed from the position that he had or still has, or
would seek to have. He's never going to have one. If he wasn't in law enforcement, he's never going to be. But I'm just speaking to how you are prosecuting the entity that is indeed engaged in that P.O.C. And while you see the city of Ontario crossing path in the sky space, like they were at 11:20 in the morning, they're crossing path in the sky space in the video that I'm capturing. And let me give you the timestamp again. That is at what is 6:16 p.m., where there's no sunset simultaneously in the natural environment, where the sun is either over Woodside Senior Apartments, creating light manifesting in the shade at the same apartment where I captured it this morning at 11:20, or that's an entirely supernatural and distinctly different environment where LAPD is gang stalking, like I documented on this day in 2024, which is speaking to the supernatural character of the environment where gang stalkers are demon possessed and are engaging in a malicious government program, which is both unconstitutional and inhumane. And it is carried on with and in reliance on a population of people who are also demons. Demons who are obsessed. They are more obsessed, that is mentally ill, than they are concerned with you're losing custody of your children. You are walking away. You're walking away into a cell, those at Woodside, but you're walking away with a criminal record for terrorism, not for just being a stalker, for it as a domestic terrorist and a violent and unprecedented sex offender. That's going to forever affect your ability, if at all, to retrieve custody of your kids, if you have them, to ever live in another apartment community, to get past a background check for a job, which you're going to need because you're not getting any more government assistance in order to get aid to pay rent. All of this is, again, just a basic fundamental level of understanding the ways in which you're understanding how a prosecution is executed amongst a corrupt entity. The civilian population is corrupt and the government is corrupt. It is public corruption. And you are comprehensively punishing that, disincentivizing it. The people that say that gang stalk with the government, you're losing everything, including your liberty, where you're gang stalking in units 33 through 64. That's the significance of having the fake sun from rise until set along the same strip of sidewalk. And she's walking in engineer light, by the way, the defendant in the video at 6:16 p.m., where the fake sun is in no position to create any of that light that she's walking in. That speaks to her mindset. She is intentionally in that environment. She's intentionally creating an activity in that environment that's supernatural. That none of that is accidentally or ignorantly underway, nor is it going to be prosecuted as court. You can claim, I don't know, I've never heard of Satan, I'm a Baptist, I believe Bible. You can say whatever you want. It's legally irrelevant. If you're there and I documented you, you're being prosecuted. It will be at this level of proof, you're understanding what will be nothing shorter than a strict liability basis, because you're understanding how public corruption exists with regard to gang stalking. So it's not going to be based on, you don't have to admit it. It's only going toward your mental examinations, though. A psychopath that's speaking to a threat. That's a threat. That's and remains a threat. But your admission is not legally necessary. It's only ongoing corroborating evidence for what is an inevitable prosecution, where you are monitoring with the government, who has created quite a case against you, has done a disservice to you as its co-defendant, as its co-conspirator. That's how this breaks down when you're prosecuting it. The entity has engaged in this pattern of conduct with a long documented pattern of exhibiting impunity. And you also need to know that that's a spirit. That impunity, that's a demonic spirit with regard to this rebellion by Satan that's using people who are delusional. As you analyze the behavior of those people who are demon possessed, you're delusional. You're going to prison. You're being prosecuted. You are not achieving anything. There's no victory there. And everything that you're doing is also fully known, but yet you're still engaging in it as though nothing is going to happen. And there's no demonic means of manifest. You're not manifesting any you're not manifesting any sort of difference or exception to what is inevitable. What I've stated is the case. Just like the entity never thought that it was going to be proven, the entity is still in denial about facing a judge, and they're all going to prison like I stated that they are. Everyone that I stated is going to prison. Everyone that I stated is going to mental asylums. That's exactly what's going to happen. If I told you beforehand and you're listening because you're monitoring, Paul Leon, you have every reason to anticipate being removed from office, because that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. It is currently 6:41 p.m. on April 19, 2025. And this is shared with what LAPD was doing on this day in 2024, like it was doing yesterday in 2024, and like it is doing tomorrow, April 20th of 2024, targeting me, psychologically torturing me, harassing me, in other words, because a bunch of angry and hostile and defeated demons are merely mad, albeit convinced that they were going to get away with murdering me and criminally defaming me in doing so.
That's why LAPD is so heavily gang stalking me in helicopter, like I documented on this day in 2024. This is P.O.C. All right, 7:02 p.m. Screenshots are captured showing, honing in on what the entity is doing together. The gang stalking in the sky space, the gang stalking on the ground around me, and what is engineered light under the fake sun, which as you compare it to March 24th's fake sun at 6:18 versus today, April 19th's fake sun, which is again at 8:16 p.m. You have what is a deviation while the entity keeps the fake sun in the same position. It's just creeping behind the building, and all I have to do is take a couple steps outside of the apartment to show you what is still the same presence of a fake sun. And that's again just comparing the specific environment as you're looking at what is under all circumstances impossible to naturally be the case, which is speaking to malice of a whole entity that is indeed targeting, and targeting is recognized in an environment that is also supernatural, and targeting is also relevant with regard to the behavior. And while I'm capturing these screenshots, both Tracy Banks and her co-defendant in Unit 55 is focusing again, amplified noise. This is a demon and it is demonic. No elderly person in any of these apartments, and nor is the demon in Unit 55 causing actual cracking. This is a demon that is pacing in what is the environment surrounded with engineered light, and this demon-possessed person is the form for what is relevant positioning, pacing back and forth above me where I'm at on the couch in the living room where this demon knows that I am, and the demon inside of the apartment, Tracy Banks, who's arrived to share in the elements of monitoring, and is creating what is audible activity by again talking to me as though she has not been engaged in criminal defamation. She listened to all the documentation today. She's engaged in monitoring as she arrives at the apartment. She's monitoring with the psychopath sex offender above me that's pacing above, while I'm also capturing screenshots. This is, and the screenshots, the substance of the evidence that they're monitoring, and they're also harassing me because I'm documenting it, is published to the Google Drive. It's currently 7:04 p.m. So those screenshots that you'll see captured at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. This is the evidence that they're monitoring together. This is the evidence while the demon Tracy Banks is in my face, smiling and laughing and talking about things that I really, everything that she's talking about, even if she's talking about things that I love, like cheesecake. Or she's yelling out epithets and malicious audible activity when she's projecting her mental illness onto me. It is equally audible activity. It just becomes legally relevant with regard to the malice of the stalker, who is the psychopath and is seeking to criminally defame the target individual. That's where it becomes legally relevant. It also becomes legally relevant because they're monitoring evidence in an ongoing federal case, okay? It's also, again, psychopaths that do so. The demon is above me, pacing, amplified noise, where the noise is happening where I'm at in the apartment. And that's, again, very demented stalking behaviors of not only the demon in Unit 41 with her kids, but also all the demons that are targeting me together, including Tracy Banks. Okay, it is currently 7:05 p.m. This is monitoring of evidence by psychopaths who are together engaging in that malicious pattern of conduct while they are nothing other than hostile to the fact that you're caught. And you're mad because you're caught because you wanted to get away with the murder. You're mad because you're caught because you wanted to get away with criminally defaming and trying to walk away like you are some sort of good person, even a normal person, but literally a good person. They want to look nothing close to what they actually are: ignoble, literally disgusting and despicable, corrupt, vile, all the things, all the bad things. This is not hyperbole. Gang stalking is a disgusting crime committed by a whole operation. It's very diligently maintained, but it's also highly unintelligent. So you have all those moving parts, you have all the levels of bullying that's underway, but you also have what is a very easy means of identifying it and then getting to all the levels of corruption that are necessarily at play when you have the government and a population gang stalking together inside of what is an apartment where senior citizens are engaging in 24-hour surveillance. Senior citizens that clearly don't need any B12 to stay up gang stalking me all night long on the couch in the living room, all right, where they're engaging in that pattern of conduct with ceaseless engagement in that P.O.C. It is 7:06 p.m. monitoring the evidence as well. The demon in unit number 51, Tracy Banks, 9HUZ740, is gang stalking with the demon that is above in unit 55. Again, none of them individually nor collectively are creating amplified booming noises, not while they're walking, not while they're sitting, not while they're vacuuming, not while they're walking outside. In the same way, walking and under any circumstances outside is never going to cause your shadow to fly about upright on walls around. Neither is the sun going to remain over one apartment like I documented today again from 11:20 to 6:18 p.m. This is the pattern of conduct, and the demon-possessed are gang stalking. They are targeting, and this is the demon-possessed that are fully exposed and defeated, and they're nothing other than sore losers. But that's going to be relevant with regard to prosecuting terrorists that seek to murder and kidnap you and defame you, and then seek to harass and psychologically torture you when they're not able to accomplish it secretly or successfully. It is 7:07 p.m. This is P.O.C. at Woodside Senior Apartments. Everyone in units 33 through 64, including the demon on video, unit 41 with 2 toddlers. She's going to a mental asylum. She's gang stalking. She's doing so with impunity, monitoring the evidence, and then engaging in what is ongoing gang stalking conduct, criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment, while her co-defendant, with whom she's sharing the criminal elements of monitoring, still obsessively monitoring, still obsessively engaging in that POC, while the terrorist knows that it's being prosecuted. It is being prosecuted, and you're still doing it in defiance of what this is, again, the whole delusional makeup of what the entity practices is going to be exposed with regard to prosecuting it. Okay, it is 7:08 p.m. and this is POC.